welcome to Guided Meditations and More. My name is Ade Richardson, and normally this is a 7:30, 8 a.m. daily meditation. As many of you know, I've been hosting interviews with various types of people who share about their journey on the spiritual path on a variety of topics. Today, I have the great honor and pleasure to have with us Souli Spirited. So I'm going to start by reading your bio or your introduction to you. And I know this doesn't capture everything, but just so people have a sense of it. And I really enjoyed reading this. So Souli Spirited. My natal chart and introduction to me. Who am I? I'm a multidimensional being currently on a mission to deliver a message concerning divine love. I'm here to articulate my truth, that is, the law of one. Truly, we are all interconnected. The hate you feel is but a reflection of the fear, but a fear you feel is but a reflection of you. And the love you freely give and feel is but a reflection of you. I am as I think, and therefore I think as I am. Knowledge is key, but application of that knowledge is the lock. And expansion resides behind the door. I am a messenger, the one who walks with one foot in each world. So divine, yet unashamedly cardinal. I am the balance between dark and light. I am but the flow of the universe. I operate in wholeness rather than duality. If you want to learn more about my natal chart, you can message me. We can talk about my natal chart, or if you prefer yours, message me to consult me and the stars. Check out my YouTube channel as well. Go to Souli Spirited on YouTube and subscribe. Open your heart and expand your mind. Welcome to God Essence, you beautiful soul. So that was great. Thank you for taking this, last moment podcast. We just met the other day, as I was sharing with you in the Facebook message. I was just walking on the street, and I was thinking, I want someone for this podcast that could talk a little bit about the shift that we're going through on the planet, and and just to share their story. And then I got the Facebook invite from you, and I went there. I looked at your video, and I just picked up on your energy. And also, I think it's nice to have a change, someone from the younger generation, to get your perspective as well. So it also adds some diversity to this space, which is, I think, something that I look for and I appreciate. And so where should we start? Let's talk a little bit about your journey. You were telling me you are originally from Africa. Can you talk a little bit about that journey from Africa here?
Yeah, so that is correct. So I am originally from Africa, Chad. It's next to Sudan and Egypt. And essentially, we came here as refugees. When I was in Africa, Chad, there was a civil war happening in my country, and the whole reason why the civil war happened was because the government, which was a dictatorship, found a whole load of natural resources, and they were essentially making money, profiting off of that. Yet they left the people in poverty, so therefore they kind of rebelled. My dad, he had one of my dad's brothers was in the rebellion, and my dad's brother tried to shoot the dictator. He missed, and then they went looking for him. They came to our home looking for him. My dad said, he didn't know where he was at. They didn't believe him, so they ended up, shooting my dad in the chest. My dad eventually, ended up dying. He died, but then he miraculously came back. And then he was contacted by like a refugee agency or something. I'm not even sure what to call it. They were letting him know that they can get him out of that country. So then they did. And 11 years ago, that was when I came to America, when I was around 8 to 9 years old. I came here. And then yeah, the truth of the matter is, everything from the way that the youth in these days behave and everything else, just the corruption, it's all systematic. So I kind of, you can say, came into America kind of not knowing anything as to how things run. And, from like, the music to the media to just what is expected, I kind of fell into, the wrong people. When I was around 12 years old, I started smoking cannabis. And well, I mean, there's nothing funny about it, but the first day, I smoked cannabis was the first day I broke into a house. And I was 12 years old. I was with a couple friends and they were just smoking. And to me, it looked interesting, like something I would want to try out, my curiosity, so I tried it out and now I was pretty high, and then now they're walking, like, let's break into a house. I'm just like, whoa, what the heck. So then we end up, they end up breaking into the house, and that's kind of how, that begun. I got into like this like addiction with cannabis, where I was abusing it rather than using it, because I think that cannabis is a beautiful plant, but just like everything else, first and foremost, moderation is key, and I wasn't, using it in moderation. I wasn't using it at all. I was abusing it. So then eventually what happened is, I started, breaking into houses and things of that nature to sustain my addiction. And then one day when I was, breaking into a house, it was essentially, it's okay. So let me just tell you the story of, it was September 23rd of 2015, 16. And I was, it was a Wednesday, and this was when I was in high school. So, every Wednesday, high school starts like at a later time. So we had all this time in the morning. So me and my friend, we were hanging out, smoking. And I was like, I want to go get some more weed, but we didn't have any money. So I told him, let's break into a house. He was like, I don't want to do that. I don't got a good feeling about this. He was just like telling me that he didn't feel, and it's funny because he's a Cancer too. But yeah, he was just telling me that something felt wrong, and essentially I convinced him, I persuaded him, we did. I told him he'd just be the lookout. So then, I jump into the house, I break the window and everything. And then mind you, I was kind of high, so I wasn't completely there. And then when I was trying to open the window, essentially there was a guy in there, and I think like he tapped my hand with a gun. And I wasn't aware, so I opened it because I thought it was my mind playing tricks on me. So then I opened
Yeah.
the window. And then inside, the guy's like, don't move or I'll shoot you. And in my altered state, for some reason, I thought this guy is not about that life. I don't know. So I was like, this guy is not going to shoot me. So then at this point, I wasn't really trying to do anything like break into his house, but for whatever reason, I didn't stop going. I kept moving. So then he ended up shooting me in the chest. I'm not even sure if you can like see the bullet wound right there, but he shot me in the chest and that penetrated, through my lung. And then and it was a crazy intense moment, just like violation of space, not knowing what to think, how to feel, what I got myself into. Because, it's like things of that nature. It's like once you get yourself into it, there's no going back, So I'm just like, what did I just do? So then I turn around, I jump the fence as I'm running. I can't breathe because there's a hole within my lung. So I'm just running. And then like everything just starts getting dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. Then I collapse to my knees. And now I'm on the floor trying to scream to my friend to help me. I'm like trying to scream, but I can't scream. And, he's running. And then I'm on the ground, and I'm just thinking about like how, like what's going to happen, and around this time, my family, they're Islam. So I was indoctrinated into that religion, so I believed in hell. I believed that I was going to go to hell because all the bad things I did. So, I cried out to God. I was like, God, I'm so sorry if you're real. I'm sorry. I know I did all these bad things and I know I'm going to hell, but please forgive me. I was asking him for a second chance. I was like, if you give me a second chance, I promise I'll do good. I'll be a saint, and all these things. But after a while, and it's really true. You see, the thing about it is, you in a sense have a DMT trip. Well, I don't know if you knew this, but right before you, or right when you're born, your brain releases an ample amount of DMT, right? But it also releases an ample amount of DMT when you're about to die. So I kind of had this little DMT trip where my whole life experience, was like right in front of me, like everything that happened was in front of me. And I just was like, at first I was afraid, but then after a while I made peace with it. And I was like, if I'm meant to die and go to hell, then that's what it will be. I brought this upon myself. And, it's beautiful because like at that moment when I was suffocating, at first, suffocation was really uncomfortable and just like, you can't breathe, I couldn't breathe. But then after a while, there was this immense peace, that kind of overcame me, and I went in peace, and my friend, he ran to a corner store and he called, the ambulance. So then they came. And then I was in critical condition at that time, I was barely alive.
Yeah.
Then they rushed me to the hospital. They operated surgery upon me. Well, my heart just wouldn't stop my heart wouldn't just start beating. So essentially they tried everything, the scrub, even manually getting my heart to start, everything, but like I was gone. I was dead. So they put my death time down. They told my mother, and yeah, my mother, because she was there. I think my father was, I don't know, but yeah. I'm not sure if my father was there as well, but yeah, my mother, they told my mother, she told me this, they told her, that I didn't make it, I was dead. And essentially, whatchamacallit, yeah, so my mother, she was like, just sad, I guess, heartbroken or whatever. And it's funny because like, before that happened, before they went and told my mother that I was dead, my mother told me that there was this lady, like, she kind of gave out a mystic energy, or like a gypsy type of energy, who asked her, who was like, is that your son in there? And my mother was like, yeah. And then I guess the lady told her like, don't worry, your son will be okay. So yeah, and then meanwhile, on the other side, my experience, I awoke, and I just look around, and it wasn't Earth. Essentially, I was just, you can call it limbo. I wouldn't precisely say I was like in heaven or hell, but I was precisely in the waiting space,
Yeah.
and everything around me was just light. Everything was just light, there were beings, there were body forms, but they were also light, just walking around. And then it seemed like everything was kind of revolving around this one energy that was in the center. So I looked at it, and I was like, I was like, what happened? And it was like, it was a they. There was like, it was, I don't know if you know anything about unity consciousness, but the higher dimensions you go, the less ego you have. The higher you go, the more your ego dissolves. And
Yeah.
So certain societies up there that are essentially are one consciousness, if that makes sense. Yeah, so I was talking to they, but essentially I was talking to one, and they told me that I died, and I came back here. They said I died. But it's funny because the way they said it, it was kind of like, how like when you're playing a video game and then like you die, it wasn't serious. They're like, you died, but your mission is yet complete. You have a choice. You can either stay here with us, assuming that staying there would, allow me to transition or whatever, or I can go back to Earth. And I was like, wait, what mission? Like, what are you guys talking about mission? And they were like, we're not allowed to tell you that, because, that would kind of go against free will or whatever. So then essentially, I was like, I just enthusiastically was like, I must go back, So then my heart just started beating out of nowhere. Like I was dead, the doctor said I died and all of that, but out of nowhere, they call it a miracle. My heart just started beating. And then I went through this whole process where I wasn't able to see, I was blind, I wasn't even able to talk, I wasn't even able to walk, nor was I able to use like most of like the right side of my body, because when I got hit right here, kind of paralyzed me, semi-paralyzed me. And then essentially, yeah, I wasn't able to, so I was like, in a sense, quote unquote, helpless. So then I was in the hospital for about 3 months. I was in a coma for 1 month. And then after that, I was at home. I went through a lot of processing. I was in this state where I was in a victimhood, where I felt like my life was ruined, how this guy who shot me, he ruined my life. Like, now I'm a victim, my life is gonna be bad, blah, 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 poor me.
Can we go back to that experience when you were kind of on the other side? Was there a recognition of the identity, or was there any fear of losing yourself? Was there like, oh, it's just gonna be no more, I'm gonna be obliterated? Was there any sense of that, what you may call the little me, or the identity, and how did that sit with the um, also being experiencing this expansiveness, you
Yeah.
know.
Okay. So I, personally believe that the other versions of me are not separate from me. I believe that they're all me, just in different dimensions or whatever. And that was kind of the experience I attained. Essentially, when I was there, I didn't really have any like complete memory as to this realm. Like, I mean, I guess it was such a small, like a small part of I don't even know the experience or whatever, but like there was just sense of like everything is okay. I was very, very calm. Like, I mean, the area I was in, it was very, very like heart centered, peaceful, and everything like that. So that's where I was at, and I would say I didn't even know that I died. I
Yeah.
didn't have like memory as to what happened on Earth. I woke up and I was like, what's happened? Kind of a bit confused, but I felt at home. I felt like I was home. Nevertheless, does that answer your question or?
Yeah. Was there a sense of traveling? Was there a sense of what was your sense of sort of time, space, or um, also that's one part. Was there a sense of moving, and was there a sense of like creating yourself over and over? Was there any sort of um, like if there was this part that felt that was still there, we could call it the little I, which you said they're all different, parts of you, but maybe different dimensions. Was there a feeling of you know, um, moving into like different expansions, or creating, you know, um,
Yeah.
creating yourself over and over?
Wow. So I do want to say this. So yeah, there was in a sense movement, for me to get there, I guess. So after a while, when I just was at peace with the fact that I was gonna die, I started kind of getting, 360 vision, kind of just seeing, feeling, I guess you can kind of say being everything around me, right? And then I kind of started, I guess you can say ascending to the light.
Hmm.
But to me, like the transition, it's kind of like I don't have great detail as to it, if you get what I'm saying. But also, I'm gonna say this, like I feel like that part of me that I experience right now, like like the movie The Matrix, like how when they go into the Matrix, they get hooked up to like these machines. Um, I forget their names, but I on my YouTube channel I did this series on multidimensional beings. I talked about different quote unquote aliens. I don't really like to use that term though, because yeah, they're different. They're just dimensional beings. They're not like different from us and they're weird. They're just different avatars having different experiences. So me, in one of the dimensions, I'm not. It's too bad that I don't know. I think Arcturians came to me. So the Arcturian beings, I don't know if you know anything about them, but these are a very, very advanced civilization. It is said that they also were ones where we are. They were also ones in the third density, the solar plexus, a lot of separation, hate, fear, negativity, and they had to transcend that because after a while, when they were, raising an energy like we are right now, they just could not have, that negative energy within them because it was literally hurting them. There's certain beings out there that literally die, from holding hatred and negative energy. They were kind of getting there. So they had to let go of fear and all those negative energies. And through that, I think they were already pretty advanced, but essentially it is said that um the gateway into these lower dimensions is through them. They have like technologies that we can't even imagine, like we are barely like we think we have advanced technology, but we really don't know what's out there, but essentially they said that these lower dimensions are governed by, they're kind of like the gatekeepers of these lower dimensions. There are many gatekeepers, of course, but they are like the gatekeepers to these lower dimensions because these lower dimensions are in fact illusionary experiences for growth. When we come to earth, we are here to heal, here to pay our karmic debt. That's why, earth and heart are simultaneously one and the same thing. The heart chakra, is healing center. So we're here to heal. No one here is perfect. Everyone is in a healing process, and you will always be healing as long as you're here. So yeah, essentially that's, I feel like that part of me that I awoken into is right now asleep, and I'm experiencing its dream, I guess you can say. They say life is but a dream, right? So it was kind of like a transition indeed, from like this energy to like that energy, if that makes sense. Like going from, like, I guess my soul, for lack of a better term, transitioning from this body to the next body, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And so let's pick up where you were saying you're out of the hospital, and you were saying that you were back home and feeling this kind of victim sort of mentality, you know.
Yeah. So, I was in the victim mentality. I would cry a lot. I would like be feel sad for myself, feel like I was the victim, and just all of these things, which is, I guess, an easy emotion to feel or whatever. And essentially I got into like, so with me, I've always had like this relationship with cannabis, and like I said, I think it's a beautiful plant, but I just think it can get ugly when you're abusing it, because yeah, this and that and this and that. But essentially, after a while, at first I feared cannabis because for some reason I was blaming the weed, and I was like, I got shot because I was trying to break into houses to get money to get weed. So I went through the stage in my life where I thought like weed was the problem and blah 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 blah. So then, but then after a while, because it was like cannabis is everywhere. Like you go to a high school and everyone is just smoking weed. It's crazy. I mean, they don't do it in the open, but yeah, it's crazy. It's all over the place. So essentially I started smoking again to numb the pain. And then one day I was smoking outside of like this balcony, and one of my teachers, she opened the door and she seen me, and I was like, oh shoot, she seen me. So then she was like, so I tried to put it away quickly, but I didn't. So then she asked me like what my next class was. And me, I'm just like really, really bad at lying. Like I'm a very open book. So I told her straight up, I was like, oh yeah, I have this class, blah, 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 blah. And then walking, I was like, oh my God, I never should have told her that. So now I'm sitting in guitar class, and I have like my guitar, I'm pretty high. And then oh my God. And then on top of that, it was April 20, I think 2019 or 2018. So it was 420, and they're like kids around me with like cannabis on, like cannabis necklace, weed hats. And I was freaking out because, I knew that the security guard was going to come get me. So I was like, what is going on? Like, why are these people, So yeah, so I was kind of freaking out. And then they came and got me, and then I was at the principal's office, disciplinary principal. And then they called my dad, and then there was this cop who also was there. He was a pretty cool cop though, So then, yeah, then my dad, he kind of told them my story on how like I died, and blah, 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 blah. And then sorry, I've noticed I've done that a lot. I think to some people that might be annoying, the blah, blah, blah thing. But yeah, so,
Okay.
so then essentially, he told them the story, and then the cop was like, you're telling me you got a second chance and you're wasting it? And that spoke to me deeply, and that was kind of a second awakening. I woke into that fact. This is very true. So I was suspended for 3 days, but then it was like I was suspended for 3 days, and there was like what was it called? It wasn't summer break, it was spring break. So it was like just like an extended vacation or whatever. So now I'm at home, and I'm like, I just knew I needed to change. And 2 weeks prior to that, I downloaded this audiobook. It's called Self-Discipline by Brian Tracy. And even till this day, I'm always recommending that book because it's the book that completely changed my life, because self-discipline is very, very powerful. So then I started reading it because I just knew it was going to change my life. But I put it aside because I was like, I don't want to change right now. Because change is the unknown. People would rather be in their comfort zone. So I was like, I'm not going to change. But then I started listening to that audiobook. Simultaneously, when I was on Facebook, I came across this documentary that was like a 3-hour documentary about the chakras and the energy centers and everything like that. So I was always drawn to that stuff, but I think it was after that I really, really got into that, And then I started, studying the self-discipline thing. And I was also simultaneously doing a lot of things like, consuming certain herbs. I was exercising. Like at this point, I stopped seeing all of my therapists. And at this point, I started to realize that, because of circumstance or whatever. And I started to realize that if I want to get better, I need to stop depending on, people to make me get better, to help me get better, essentially. So then I started working out like, wait, I think this was after I stopped smoking. Yeah, this is after I stopped smoking. So then I started listening to the audiobook first. And one of the things I really took from that audiobook on self-discipline by Brian Tracy, he's just an amazing person. I am also, yeah, never mind. That's precisely the point. But yeah, so I just started listening to the audiobook. And one powerful thing I took from that book was responsibility. He talked about how you need to start taking responsibility for your life, because that's the only way you can live your life. And he was also talking about, positive thinking, and talking about how when you are blaming, you can't really be in a positive, energy. I like to say, as long as people, point the finger, they're missing the point, And he was just talking about, once you take responsibility for your circumstance, for your life, then you just can't blame anyone else. And then you can't really be mad at yourself. Like, let's say I'm mad at something, right? But then I take responsibility for that. Now I'm in this process where I've accepted it. And in order for you to resolve any problem, you must first start off by accepting, that's the first step to resolving the problem. You must accept it. So I accepted the problem, and then at this point, I started really, really focusing on getting myself better, because I did know that no one was gonna. And yeah, in the book, he also mentioned that how no one's gonna come and save you. Only you're gonna come and save you. So I was in that energy. And then I started becoming really, really disciplined, and I got in this place where I felt like I was a slave to my higher self. More, let me put it this way. You see, the thing is, the physical body, it's like it's kind of like a pet, but on top of that, well, yeah, I'll just use the pet example. It's like an animal. It's the cardinal aspect of it. It's an animal, and for the most part, a lot of people's animals control them. A lot of people are controlled by lust, by food, by all of these things. They don't have control over their body. So I essentially, when I say I became a slave to my higher self, I meant like I started utilizing my body for the things that would be progressive to me, rather than allowing my body to just do, just to like be comfortable, smoke weed and just do all of these things. I started getting out of my comfort zone. I started doing all the things I knew I needed to do, to get better. I started working out like 3 times a day, 7 times a week.
Yeah.
I was meditating. I was just doing all of these things. I was like really, really in it. And then, yeah.
So it sounds like you were being responding to those, the emotional material that was there, that was perhaps driving some of the behaviors or the blame and the distracting from yourself. And so it sounds like you turned the attention inward, and how did you get to that place of accepting what was there, did you do some work with processing difficult emotions and things like that? How did you learn to relate to that aspect of yourself?
So me personally, I'm just like, it was more like the fact that I didn't know better, so I couldn't do better. And I'm also a very open-minded person, and I wanted to get better as well. And essentially, I always like to stay, because a lot of people think change takes a long time, but the truth is, that's not precisely true. It's not that change takes a long time to happen, because change happens in an instant. I also like to say, you are always one thought away from happiness and one thought away from sadness. So what does take a long time, though, is us settling into that comfortability, us settling into our pain and finally saying we've had enough. For some people it takes way more time for them to get fed up, and that's the waiting thing. But essentially, change happens in an instant. So when I heard his situation, because he was there too, where he was a victim and he changed his life, and because One thing I also think that touched me was when he used the analogy of like, you know, the wolf, and like the Native American story about the wolf. There's like a white wolf and a black wolf. There's a good wolf and a bad wolf.
Yeah.
And I don't really know how it goes, but essentially the moral of the point is the wolf that you choose to feed is the wolf that will win at the end of the day, you know? So then I started thinking, I was like, okay, so I'm going to start feeding I'm going to start feeding what is good for me, you know? So that was kind of where I got there. So it was really a matter of, I didn't know better, so I didn't do better. But then I think I knew something. So, but yeah.
So it sounds like you were changing the thoughts, and it's in your intro. You mentioned something along those lines. Okay. You say, "I am as I think, and therefore I think as I am." So
Yes.
can you expand on that? Because it sounds like in the similar vein of what you're expressing now, of how to change your sort of reality and your inner state with your thoughts.
Yes. So this is very true. You know, we do live in a reality that's essentially belief driven, you know? So it's funny because I was walking, I was thinking about that. And I was thinking, so then how can we know what is real if our reality is based upon our beliefs? Now, for example, I don't know if you've ever like got a new car, you know, that you never really seen around in the you know, around like in the streets, but then it's like once you got that car, you started seeing it everywhere. Or like maybe a friend, you know, got a car and then you started seeing that car everywhere. And essentially it really has to do with like, well, I guess it's kind of different. It really has to do with like the fact that you're expecting it. You know, you now you're expecting to see that car. So now the car is, you know, everywhere. Now you're seeing the car way more than you did before. So essentially our beliefs are where it's at. You know, you are as you think, and I am as I think, and I think as I am, in the sense that my reality is subjective to my perception. If today I wake up and I'm having a negative day, you know, I would think, I mean, it's really beautiful out here, but I would probably get annoyed by the birds that are chirping, you know, the fact that there's people over there playing baseball, and just essentially what I'm getting at is the way the brain works is it generalizes things, it distorts things, and it just generalizes, distorts, and organizes, in the sense that like whatever you're looking for, your brain will distort anything else that's outside. Like what I mean is, okay, for example, like let's say you look around the room and you start looking for the color red, right? And you see a couple red things, then you close your eyes, and now you start thinking about what was blue. You know, the things that were blue in there. You're gonna think that you're gonna have such a difficult time with the blue, because essentially that's not what you were looking for. So that's not in your reality. So what I'm getting at is whatever you're looking for, whatever you're expecting, you know, you will attain. This is why I expect yes, I'm in this process in my life, you know, where I've been attaining a lot of growth, and in this place in my life where now I'm living my life every day, expecting, you know, miracles. Yeah. But,
Yeah,
and yeah, and I also want to say this. I'm like, I guess I just have all of this knowledge, you know, about manifesting and about creating your own reality. So, you know, to the viewers out there, I do want to let you guys know that I am currently working on a manifestation workshop, you know, where I organize the information in a manner that you're not only just absorbing, but because I feel like a lot of people nowadays, knowledge is just entertaining, but also the way I've, you know, structured it, it's like kind of I'm gonna allow you to get into your beliefs. You know, I've made a workbook with my manifestation workshop. You know, so I've done a lot of things. I made it in a manner that I would have wanted someone to give to me. You know, when I didn't know what I knew. You know, because the things I know are very life changing, and my life is as it is because of what I know. You know. So I am as I think, and I think as I am, for sure.
yeah, yeah, and that's what you expressed there reminds me of, in psychology they call it confirmation bias. You know, the way that the brain works. If you have this deep core belief that you're not good enough, the brain will look attached to anything that happens to confirm that belief. So then it's, aha, that's, you see, I'm not good enough. But, it sounds like this could happen, in the other direction too. If you start to cultivate the belief that I have abundance, or, this sort of thing, then you can kind of train the mind to, mind will start looking to confirm those things, and it will create that expectation will start to develop, and that will begin that manifestation process. It seems like, and you had mentioned something in the video about that as well, as that the universe isn't really judging what is negative towards you or what is positive. It's just whatever you're attracting, whatever you're focusing on, that's what it's going to deliver.
Exactly. The universe isn't, subjective to good or bad, because essentially, you see, the thing is, everything and anything that happens in your life that you perceive to be negative there's always a good to it. Like, something bad can happen to your life, but if you choose to see the good in it, you will see it. But I think even from at a higher note, it's even more powerful when you start realizing that you're creating those things yourself. Because you see, what a lot of people don't realize is you are manifesting always, the law of cause and effect. This is a law. There is no effect without a cause. So, and it's I agree, for some people it is a difficult concept to come to. It is difficult for some people to accept 100% accountability, but I promise you, that's where the magic is at. But yeah, essentially I agree with you. Yeah.
And you did that reminds me of that 100% accountability they talk about in the book. I don't know if you ever read the 4 Agreements, but he mentions that. And there was another thing you mentioned in the video. I think it's called I might be saying this wrong, the Ho'oponopono prayer. Maybe talk a little bit about that, because that is taking responsibility for our how we perceive others or how we perceive ourselves.
Yeah. So first and foremost, I want to start off by saying that the ancients, a lot of ancient civilizations knew and believed that our minds created our reality. Now, Ho'oponopono is a mantra that comes from Hawaii. Ho'oponopono translates to bring back to perfection. That's what Ho'oponopono means, to bring back to perfection. Perfection essentially is the 0 point. When you are nothing, you are perfect. Essentially, that is why you can also kind of say that because perfection is nothingness, there is no such thing as unperfection, if you get what I'm saying. Essentially, you are perfect as you are. You are perfect in your flaws. There is no such thing as imperfection. But essentially, you are getting in your way when well, I don't really know how to get from point A to point B, so I'll just get to point B. So essentially, Ho'oponopono, it's all about taking 100% accountability by using the 4 most powerful phrases, in language. And those phrases were: I'm sorry, forgive me, thank you, and I love you. Now, I'm sorry essentially is, when you say you're sorry, the energy from that is you're asking the divine for forgiveness for your unconsciousness. I'm sorry for I know not what I do, because a lot of people in their life experience, they're doing something and they feel victim, but they don't realize that unconsciously they're making it happen. So you're apologizing for that unconsciousness. Forgive me. You're asking for forgiveness for your blockages. You know that, because the truth is, God is you experiencing human through you, so you're asking for forgiveness for blocking God, from blocking the universe, from a larger, grander experience, which is the experience that you want to experience, but your unconscious mind is not allowing you that. So you ask for forgiveness. you give gratitude, you thank the universe, because gratitude is like the most powerful energy when it comes to shifting from one energy to another. If you are angry, if you're sad, if you're feeling down, look around you. Be grateful for anything. You can be grateful for your health. You can be grateful for the fact that you're still alive. Truly be grateful. And what's going to happen is that's going to dramatically shift your energy. And then I love you. Love, unconditional love, love of everything, love without conditions, rather I should say. Love without condition takes you back to the divine experience, because the divine experience is oneness. Love is oneness, you know. So when you say I love you, you reconnect back to, you know, the divine source, and you feel once again at home, and that takes you back to 0 point where anything is possible, where nothing is happening but anything can happen, you know.
Yeah, so that's beautiful. So you went from the lower energy when you got out of the hospital, of that kind of victim mentality, to now that higher vibration where you're in this you know, vibrating with this gratitude. And the other thing I wanted to ask is how would you say, you know, you mentioned that even when the quote unquote negative experiences that we have, there can be a lesson there. And you know, you had a obviously very painful experience that you went through. What would you say the lesson that you gleaned from that experience is?
So, well, so when I went through all of that, I was in this place of helplessness, I would say, where I felt like I was, you know, a victim or whatever. And I feel like when I went through that near-death experience and everything, it made me appreciate life even more. But it also made me realize that you know, that I am truly creating my reality. So I haven't really thought of this 100% as to the lessons I learned from that experience, but I know I learned a lot of lessons. And I think it's because when I'm in different places in my life, I have a different answer. You know, like if you ask me, I think like a couple years back, I would have had an answer, like a well detailed answer, because I used to think about that a lot. But I think because this happened like 5 years ago, it's kind of just something that's way in the back of my head. But I would say, you know, even though it might have seemed negative, because of that experience that I awoken. It was my catalyst to awakening. It was my catalyst to realizing, first and foremost, that there is more to the world, to this universe, than we think, you know, and that not to take life too seriously. I think that's the thing. Some people are way too attached, you know, to this experience, but we have to understand that we are not, you know, our experience. You're not what you're going through. You are way more than that, you know. Practicing healthy attachment and detachment is very, very powerful. And maybe I think the reason why I can't really give you a direct answer as to my crazy life, my crazy near-death experience, like a direct lesson, is because I think I learned like a lot of lessons from that. So there isn't precisely one lesson, but there is you know, a variety of lessons, a multitude of lessons. But I think the greatest one that I learned from it was accountability, because I had to, you know, by reading the book and everything, it made me accountable. And the reason why I was even able to tap into that energy was thanks to that near-death experience, was thanks to that bad thing happened to me. It was what, you know, got me there. So yeah, every lesson is a blessing, but it's in disguise. I like to, yeah.
Yeah, you explained that very well, you know, and especially when you said that, you know, it's kind of like a process, and sometimes the lessons are revealing themselves, you know, throughout the journey. And but it did certainly seem like it opened up. It was kind of like you got a peek at what was there. So, you know, it just knowing that this physical body isn't all that there is I'm sure it brings some comfort. You know, I didn't have a near-death experience, but I've had an experience of kind of being shown that this is not all that there is, you know, and and it sticks with you. It might be not in the, you know, in front of your consciousness at all time, but it sounds like it's become part of who you are in a sense. It's a you know, so there was something else that I wanted to ask, and I'm forgetting what it is. You do sound, and I mentioned this to you before. And you talk about it in your intro about unashamedly cardinal. You know, so what I took from that is the sense that you have, you know, been able to embrace your humanity, you know, this body, you know, this everything that makes up being human. You're able to, that you're grounded and relaxed with that. You know, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. I also want to say, I think, you know, me accepting my humanity, my cardinalness, and so on and so forth, I would say also kind of is connected to my understanding of oneness, my understanding that there is truly no good and bad, and my acceptance and embracement of my bad aspect and my good aspect, or whatever, you know. Essentially, I believe that I chose to be here. You know, I don't believe that life happened, because there's some people on this planet, you know, that are like, I never chose to be here, but that's not true. Nothing ever happens to you. You always, it always happens because your soul wants it to happen. Essentially, a lot of the times when people are in a circumstance where they feel like, I don't want to do this, your soul wants to do it really because you know, soul growth. But essentially, I find great beauty, I guess you can say, in everything. I find great beauty, you know, in the physical experience as well. But I also believe that it's all about balance. We can never forget that we're on this planet. You know, we can never forget that, you know, we need, you know, money, that we need food one way or another. Food is an experience. With food, well, okay, but then again, like I said, you know, I'm very detached. I am attached. I practice healthy attachment and detachment. I'm very detached to this experience. I'm not like, and that's the problem, you know. Some people may be way too attached to the experience, the human experience, where that's negative because they start falling into, you know, this cycle. But I also think it may all, me being able to experience the cardinal aspects of me proudfully, I would say also has to deal with the fact that I disciplined myself. I controlled my animal, I guess you can say, or whatever. So now I'm not driven, you know, by my lustfulness, you know, by my hunger, by all these things. You know, like fasting is something I do because I love to do it, you know. What's the term? Celibacy is something I practice because I want to practice it, you know, and just all these things. And I think it's why I can truly appreciate the beauty within humanity. You know, I appreciate even the pain. I actually don't. I welcome, you know, destructive experiences in my life, because I know that a lot of the times it's within those destructive experiences that I kind of awaken or attain, you know, this sense of like, for example, like I'm pretty sure you're aware of this, 'cause I think I talked about it in my video, but if you weren't, a couple months back, last month, I mean, I got kicked out of my house, right? And at first I was kind of in this energy of like not really knowing what was going on and everything, and I was very, very vibrating pretty low. And then while I was in that state, I reached out to the universe, you know, because I know that there is a benefic universe that wants to support me no matter what you might believe. The universe wants to support you, and the universe is supporting you. But the things you're asking the universe to support you with are things that are not in you know, harmony with you, essentially. So yeah, you know, I reached out to the universe because I know that there is a benefic, loving, merciful God, or whatever you want to call it, you know. So I reached out, you know, I asked for its help to get me out of this rut. But of course, I didn't just ask and it happened. I asked, and I had to take inspired action. I had to take the action myself, you know. So then I started off by, you know, breaking my pieces, because I had like a pipe, you know, which I was smoking out of. I had a glass bong that I was smoking out of, and essentially they kind of broke already, but I had just this one thing I could have smoked out of, and I broke it, you know, just to kind of show that the universe that I was really serious about it. But then I think I took inspired thought more through my mind than anything else, because I was thinking deeply and I started connecting the dots, and I started realizing that I forgot that my mind creates my reality, and it just, you know, so I was taking inspired action inside of my thought. People forget this, but thought is also action. You know, thinking is a form of action. So I started thinking and I started realizing that, holy shit, I'm manifesting this. I'm creating this. I created this whole circumstance. And then once I got in that energy, I was more comfortable. You know, it goes back to accountability. And then everything just started flowing to me. Everything started making sense. The circumstance I was in started making sense. I was starting to see how this circumstance that I'm in was benefiting me, and how great I became grateful for the circumstance, you know. And yeah, now a lot of things are just beautiful, gorgeous things are coming into my life. And I don't know if on the video you heard what I spoke of, but I did this 9-day you know, ritual, because, you know, I'm into magic and everything like that. So I did this 9-day ritual, you know, where it was from, I started on like August 1st, and I built it up until August 3rd, where the full moon in Aquarius happened. And then, you know, I did a ritual that night. But then on August 8th, there was a Lionsgate, which I decided that I would take advantage of as well. So every day, you know, for 9 days, I would go, you know, chant, call to the deities and all of that stuff, and just, you know, feed the ritual, feed the ritual. And then on the night that the ritual is complete, the next day, I ended up getting kicked out of my house. Yeah, you know, I was in this victim energy of like, oh my God, I just did all this magic, and like, you're telling me that this is what's happening. Like, what the, I was mad, you know. But then I came to the realization that, holy shit, this is a part of the process. I had to let go of the old foundation had to be destroyed, because that old foundation was not supporting, you know, what I wanted to manifest. And now the things, the intentions, you know, of that ritual are manifesting, coming into tuition, you know. So yeah,
Uh,
it is all about belief and perception. Yes.
yeah. You just covered a bunch of important points. You know, just being able, the gift doesn't always come in the pretty package that you may expect it to come into, and sometimes it doesn't feel like a gift. You know, may feel very like, especially, you know, when there's an example, if you have a dark room that's really messy, and you're tripping over clothes, and you're like, I wish I didn't trip over clothes and hit my toe every night. And then your consciousness expands, so the light is turned on, and now you see a messy room, and it's overwhelming. Now you're like, oh my gosh, there's this messy room. But the gift is, now you can see it, and it's this material's coming up so that you can deal with it. And those experiences for some can be really difficult to navigate and to, you know, to be with. I also like what you said about and you said it a while back, that you're like one thought away from, you know, the thought could go one area, you know, to one direction, and you can catch it and go to the other direction. And I'm bringing that up because I noticed that with myself. You know, I may be focusing on a problem and thinking, oh my gosh, this is never going to work out. And then I just catch myself that I don't have to go there. You know, I could, like you said, I'm creating this whole thing, you know, rather than this thing is controlling me, and the world is doing this to me. I'm the one that is creating it, you know, and I can go the other way. So thanks for these these reminders that are really helpful, I think, for a lot of people. So so where are you right now in your journey? And oh, the other thing, you know, that I wanted to mention is not being attached to You know, some people you to the body and to the human experience. Some people suggest to kind of be in the body, but also look at it as like you're looking at a character in a play or a character in a film going throughout, you know, so you're not like so caught up in it, and you know, you're not so absorbed into, you know, the role. So if you're an actor, like let's say Robert De Niro, a method actor or whoever, and you're so engrossed in the character, you know, that you go home, you're this mafia guy, now you go home to your family and you're like yelling and cursing at them, then you took on the role too seriously. And I notice a lot of us take this role too seriously. And I think the older that we get, people tend to really dig their heels into, you know, that character and really start to identify fully with it, to the point where it's causing a lot of division in the country. One side, I'm Republican and this is who I am. The other side, I'm a Democrat. And then we start to protect and, you know, start having to protect these identities, you know, so and it looks like you've kind of have this wider perspective.
Yeah. Wow. um yeah. Yeah, so essentially I hear what you're saying, and I want to start off by saying this. There are two egos, right? I don't believe that the ego is bad. I don't believe that you can kill your ego, because your ego is yourself. As long as you're a human, you'll always have an ego, you know. I mean, you can, yes, it's true. I've experienced, you know, unity consciousness. You can have ego death where you experience the all, but that usually like is an experience that's like a moment. Yeah, it's an eternal, it's like it's an experience that happens in the moment. Yeah, it's an experience that's happening in eternity, if that makes sense. Now, I want to start off by saying this. There are two forms of egos. Like I said, there is the alter ego, then there is the ego that is you. There is the ego that is me, which is the ego that likes to learn, the ego that likes to, you know, help others, the ego that, you know, likes to do all these things essentially. But then there is the alter ego, which is like, you can kind of say the ego that has manifested because of external circumstances. Now that's the ego that you want to kill. For example, you know, with the Republican and all that stuff, these are like altered egos that come forth because of external, you know, circumstance. An example would be like, you know, let's say I'm like, I want to be someone, I want to be something. So then I start pursuing that and I start trying to be that, but innately I am not in harmony, you know, with that being, like with who I am and everything like that. So that's going to start creating, you know, controversy. It can't not create controversy, you know. So now I also want to say this. God, wait, my mind just went blank. But yeah, okay. So I was talking about how there are two egos. But yeah, right. I'm sorry, like the thought keeps coming in and out. But yeah, so there are, you know, two egos. And now with me, I don't really feel like I should be like the outside observer. Like now from what you said, this is what I think. I think we should detach, but I don't really precisely think we should detach from the divine aspect of who we are. And a lot of people have not really awoken to the divine aspect of who they are, you know. Like I like to say that God has awoken within me, you know. So I think what that saying was more that we should detach from our external circumstances. A lot of people identify with their pain, with their suffering, with the negative relationship they're in. That is what you should detach from. If you are thinking that I am lesser than because I don't have this, then that's what you should detach from. But I believe that the ego, which is but I believe that where I was, because it's interesting. I was just thinking, I was like, because ego manifests because of separation. Yet the ego I'm talking about is the ego within me that knows that I am everything. So it's like it's you know, controversial, but it's like essentially authenticity, being true to yourself. I feel like when you start going from that path, when you start taking that path, the ego is not a bad thing. It's not so negative, because the truth is, when you are authentically yourself, you start becoming God, because you are God. Now, when I say God, I don't precisely mean like God is like worship me, I'm God, but God isn't like you are a part of the creator, and the creator is not separate from the creation, and you yourself are a creator. It's you realizing that you're divine, That's what I mean by you're a God. We are all God, You're
Yeah.
a God, you're but a reflection. We're all reflections of each other, essentially.
Yeah, you hit on some great points, and thank you for the clarification, because that was more what I had meant, like the not being attached to the circumstances, the dramas of it. And and I like what you said about the two egos, and I wonder, and being your authentic self, and that what I take that to be within myself is the authentic self, or you can call it that aspect of ego. And here words get tricky, because words can't really convey. But for me, it's just that feeling sense of I, that most authentic sense of I, the I before I am Ade, I am this, I am that, just that feeling, that sense of presence of I, and so, and then, there is this awareness, it sounds, and that I, for me, feels like the doorway, on one side of the door, I could take the I into the realm, the conceptual reality, the identity, the names, the forms, the dramas, this and that. And then on the other side of the door, there's this feeling of this great mystery, this you could maybe call it the divine, this presence. So
Yeah, yeah. I get what you're saying. So essentially, are you were you like portraying that essentially when you are authentically yourself, you don't precisely, the divine is still a mystery, or like how did you mean by that?
the mystery in terms of it's not it can't be packaged up and like put in front of you and this is what it is. Like no words can really explain what it is,
Yeah, and I agree. I think it's something that every single human being has to come to, themselves, come to the realization themselves. Buddha once said, every path leads to enlightenment. No matter how you go, you will always essentially get to enlightenment, But I do believe that, people like you and I can help people get closer to, attaining and realizing that they are the divine within them. But I don't think I think because I think it's only a mystery because we've been programmed to fear God, and we fear because of religion and everything like that. And because I don't know, I don't think that what we truly are is a mystery, So I think maybe you can just clarify things for me, or like add more detail.
Well, for me, when I say mystery, it's just it's it's beyond the conceptual reality
Yeah,
of
our capacity, like
yeah,
humans, right?
but not and I get what you're saying. It's not a mystery in terms of there, that you are, so there's this sense of being, and that's not a mystery, but you can't really convey that to another person, it can't really. So in that sense, and also for me, there's no ending point to it. So for me, I won't say that this is just all that there is, because I am still in this. I mean, this is just from my perspective. I am still in this human body, and there more may be revealed, So So in terms of that, there may be more stuff that's going to come up as I go through my journey.
Yeah, indeed. More stuff is gonna, come forth. And also I think that kind of takes me to this. Like a lot of us humans, we limit ourselves, we in a sense, I guess what I'm rather trying to say is humans, we are limitless, yet we limit ourselves, And I agree, you are way more than your experience right now. And the truth is you are what you think. That's why I say, I am as I think, and I think as I am. And you will become what you think as well. So if you, because like I said, the universe is based upon your belief. We live in a universe that's driven by beliefs. If you believe that things are hard for you, then things will be hard for you. But it's like we also have to because okay, for example, right now I'm in a state in my life where I'm manifesting financial abundance. Because no matter how you look at it, money is an asset that everyone needs, And I've been releasing blockages, because the truth is you can attain anything and everything, but it's always you who's blocking things from you, And I worked on blocking, like releasing and blocking a lot of blockages with money, like growing up, as we growing up, you have beliefs about money that's instilled within you. People are constantly attaining, constantly constantly getting programmed and getting beliefs from the media about money. And I've just been releasing all of these programmings, and I was still confused. I was like, it's still not coming. I know that there's still one blockage that's not allowing me, prohibiting me. So I started thinking, I started asking my questions. I started asking relevant questions, and I came to the realization that I still have this belief that money, I can have money, but I just need to work hard to get it, And that belief doesn't serve me. Like, that's a belief I have within me that I can get money, I just need to work hard for it. But that's a belief that is not going to serve me, because it's not true. It's just something that I was made to believe, and I came to that realization. And yeah, so understand that just because you try and you release a couple blockages and then nothing happens, that this is BS. The truth is, it's not BS. Your belief systems are deep as hell, and you got to go deep as well. And I also want to say with the workshop, I'm going to make a workshop, but I'm also going to have a workbook, but I'm also going to have a mastermind group of 6 people, which I will, work with personally. The 6 of us, we, in a sense, be a supportive factor to help each other stay on track, and manifest, all those things. But then on top of that, I'll also be offering personal coaching, because I feel like a lot of people do need help, to go deep into their subconscious mind and pull those things out. And someone like me who's gone through it, and who's doing it can be, help. And that's what I want to do. I want to give myself of service, because I know that I was gifted. I know that I am as I am, so then I can help humans, help people, help humanity, help my brothers and sisters.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And so we'll talk a little bit about, because we're already at the hour and 20 minute about an hour and 20 minutes into it. So we should begin to wrap up. Is there anything that you want to talk about that you feel like you didn't get a chance to talk about? Maybe we could briefly, and then before we end, we'll find out how people could get in contact with you.
Yeah. Okay. So I did definitely wanted to talk a bit about what's happening right now on the planet, So a lot of people aren't aware of this, but you know how 2012, everyone was like, the world's gonna end, and everyone's like preparing themselves, and everything like that, right? Yeah. So essentially they got that from the Mayan calendar, but the Mayan calendar was not in alignment with the Gregorian calendar that we are using at the moment. Right now in Ethiopia, it's actually 2012. In Ethiopia, they are aligned, with the Gregorian calendar. So the truth is 2020 is 2012, and there is going to be, the world as we know it is going to end, but we also must not have fear. We must understand that every ending is a new beginning. They're one death is birth and birth is death. You know, they're interchangeable. It's one and the same thing essentially. Um, so yeah, a lot is happening. You know, so much astrologically has happened too. Like for example, at this moment, there are 6 planets retrograde. So a lot of people, one way or another, are gonna be experiencing, you know, just introspection, a lot of introspection, a shitload of introspection. But also just people's realities just falling apart. You know, a lot of people, their reality is falling apart. But you know, like me, my reality kind of fell apart too. But I chose to put it back together. So we have to understand that you, even if you're not a circumstance. You know, like for example, I used to be in astrology and I used to be really deep into it. I studied astrology, you know, 3 years. I am a spiritual consultant, you know, I do tarot, astrology, numerology, and just all of these things, you know. But then now I feel like where I am, because I help people the way I help myself, you know, and essentially before astrology did help me and serve me. But I do also believe that you can get to a point where you transcend astrology, you know, and unfortunately, I feel like that's kind of where I am, you know. It's like I think I have this attachment to astrology, but the thing about astrology is it is a matrix, you know, and a matrix is simply a system of living, a system, an energetic system that allows life to manifest. The first matrix manifested in the 11th dimension. The 12th dimension is where source is at, you know, so the 11th dimension. And so yeah, you know, that's all a matrix is. A matrix is not good or bad. It's a system, an energetic system that allows life to manifest, you know, and astrology is its own energetic system. But the thing about astrology is it's the default setting that every single human being is born into. Because you know, when you are born, you in a sense go through this layering of density, and and the way you do that is you transcend to the energies of the planet essentially. And every planet, you know, gives you one thing or another. This physical body, for example, it was given to you from the earth, but every other planet has bestowed something upon you, you know. And so that's why astrology is beautiful, you know, and that's why I recommend everyone, if they haven't, to get a natal chart reading. Even you know, because what happens is once you study your natal chart reading, you start to realize that you start to understand how you work. You start to understand your emotional body, how you react and respond to emotions, and therefore you become better at, you know, controlling your emotions. You start to understand how you are with others, how you are in a relationship, how ambitious you are, where your dreams reside, your strengths, your weaknesses, you know, who you just astrology, it offers so much, you know, as to knowing thyself, knowledge of self, yes. But I do believe you can transcend astrology, but I also believe that you can't ascend astrology unless you go through astrology, unless you learn about astrology, unless you quote unquote master your energies, you know. Um so yeah, astrology is a very beautiful thing. But yes, at this moment there are like 6 planets going retrograde. I'm pretty sure you've heard of Mercury retrograde, you know, and how like people are like, oh no, I'm having a bad day, I don't know, or something like that because of Mercury retrograde. So yeah, essentially when a planet is retrograde, it's going backwards. And essentially it's like when the planet is going the other way, it's doing what it's supposed to do, but when it's going backwards, it's kind of doing what it shouldn't be doing or what it's not supposed to be doing. So for example, with Saturn going retrograde, Saturn is the planet of reality, stability, security. A lot of people's security and stability right now is shaky. You know, a lot of people are kind of in a unstable, you know, place. And then Neptune, I think, is also retrograde. But I think with Neptune is in Pisces as well. So I think even though Neptune is retrograde, Neptune is not precisely adding any bad to our life. Like the veil is being lifted and more people are becoming more spiritual, you know. But yeah, but one beautiful thing is in astrology, it's not all bad though, because whatchamacallit, Jupiter is gonna be going direct. I think I'm not too sure. I think it already went direct. But Jupiter, you know, is the planet of it's essentially God. Like when I look at Jupiter, I think of like divine energy. Jupiter is like for example, Jesus has that Jupiterian energy. Jupiter is wisdom, Jupiter is gracefulness, Jupiter is godliness, forgiveness, mercifulness, and all these things, abundance. Jupiter, you know, rules employment, it rules bounty. Just it's a giving energy. It gives, you know, it's charitable. Jupiter is also retrograde, but it's going direct. when a planet goes direct, it kind of goes back into its energy, but it goes back to its energy, but it's kind of like a push of, and it's like the energy is kind of intense in a way when it goes back in. So essentially when Jupiter goes back to when it goes direct, things are going to start getting a little bit better. You know, people are going to find some sort of employment. You know, people are just going to start realizing and seeing, you know, bounty and beauty within their lives and things of that nature. So yeah, I guess it's really what I wanted to cover.
Okay, and so if someone wanted to do you do natal charts for people, or what do you offer, and where can people get in touch with you?
So yeah, I do astrology readings. I do all forms of astrological readings. I do transit readings. So, you know, let's say someone wants to know about what they can expect in the next month or something according to the astrological significance and blah 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 blah. You know, I could do that for them. You know, just give them a forecast as to what they can expect. I do relationship readings or synastry readings, you know, where, like, let's say a couple come to me and they want to know about how their energies are intertwining, you know. And you know, and it's like whenever they get it, I always do my, you know, synchronicity readings with a partner, you know, because that allows me to understand that, you know, how we would be engaged. And it doesn't really matter to me if I'm in like in a long-term or short-term relationship. Usually I like to do it in the beginning, but let's say like we're in the relationship and I haven't done it, I would still do the synchronistic not synchronistic, synastry reading, because essentially it'll allow me to know how to love those people better and why they are the way they are, you know, and how our energies intertwine. And yes, I also do natal chart readings where I tell people about their energies, you know, why they do the certain things they do, you know, like their emotional body, how they react and respond emotionally, how they want to be seen by the world, how they articulate their intelligence, you know, where their ambitions are. You know, there's just all these other things. And then I also do other astrology readings. Like I had people come to me for astrology readings because they wanted to know, you know, if they came from like a different constellation, like a star system or something like that, you know. And I also do medical astrology, but I am studying. I'm studying because the thing about medical astrology is you have to study medicine, you know, to do medical astrology. You can't really just, you know, so I'm studying it, but I'm not really practicing it just yet, you know. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I also do tarot, you know, and then I also do consultations to say if someone is just having something's going on in their life and they want advice, you know, someone to talk to and give them advice and help them shift their consciousness and see things from a different perspective. People also, you know, call me and they book consultations where they talk to me about their problems and where I give them, you know, answers and how they can see things from a different perspective, you know. So yeah.
Great. So I think I may be in touch for a natal chart. I haven't gotten one of those done. So I'm just curious so if people wanted to get in touch with you, where can they find you?
So I am most active. Yeah, I'm most active on Facebook. I was gonna say I live on Facebook, but I don't, you know, because I'm very busy it's like I think I'm very busy doing things, but a lot of the times like I'll have an inspiration and then I'll post it, you know, on Facebook. So that's why I said I live on Facebook, because that's the platform where I'm most active on. Yeah, you can find me on Facebook at Solely Spirited. You know, I'm pretty sure a lot of people are watching this on Facebook as well. You can also find me on YouTube at Solely Spirited, and I would recommend everyone, you know, to go subscribe to my YouTube channel, because I try to, you know, upload every day. Right now I have 144 videos, you know, on spirituality, metaphysics. I have videos on breath work, you know, I have videos on the human body. I have videos on vastly a lot of things. I have a lot of talks as well. I've talked to, you know, Santos Bonacci and just a lot of other great people as well. So I have a great archive of information within my YouTube channel that, you know, is open to the public, everyone else. So yeah.
Okay.
And then you can also email me at astrotarrotarts, which is astrotarrotarts999@gmail.com. But I think that's way too much information. I don't think anyone's gonna email me, or maybe, who knows.
So the Facebook, I'll put your YouTube link, but in the description of this video, I'll have you're tagged in it. So if anybody wants to reach you, they can just they'll be able to easily find you. So I just want to, first of all, thank you so much for taking this time out to have this conversation with me. You know, you didn't know me at all, and I contacted you. So, you know, thank you for taking out the time. And it was great. It's great meeting you. And, you know, whenever I have a guest on, I always, you know, part of the reason I do this, besides connecting with a new person, is I always glean something from the conversation and you know, and learn something. And I learned a lot from this conversation. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah,
And
you're welcome.